Like, is it a red light?
Can you give her a 10-minute thing? Oh, I like that.
Good. Well, hello, Real Story. I am so glad to be here to talk to you guys tonight. So I do have a real story. Not that upbeat, but hopefully it will inspire you all and I don't know, inspire you in just the power of the human spirit. So, just to give you a little background about me, I'm from Oakland, California. That's my mom back there, and my dad couldn't come tonight, but I have great parents, so thanks, Mom. And I moved to Washington, D.C. about 10 years ago, and during that time, I actually met a really seemed to be a nice guy at the time, and I dated him for about a year. After the relationship, things got a little crazy. Has anybody ever seen a little crazy? A little crazy, and so I was just like, wow, this is just getting to be a little bit too much. But it got to the point, it was so crazy that I discovered that I needed to get a restraining order against him. So it kind of got to that point. I was like really scared because I've been in so many relationships where things might end, but it never just gets like crazy where they're like showing up all the time and like turn into stalking basically. So at the time I was like really scared. My family's way out here in California, I'm out in the D.C. area, and I'm like, what's going on? So the stalking went on for about 4 or 5 months, and I was like terrified. I used to call my parents daily, like, I don't know what to do. He's just showing up all the time. He's calling all my friends. He's calling me constantly, texting me constantly. Just getting really scary. So fast forwarding to January 14, 2009. I woke up that day, and I just remember I had this really eerie feeling. Has anybody ever felt that just very unsettling, not really sure what's wrong, but something's just a little off? So I felt that way pretty much all day, and I just remember I was just nervous, and came home from work, and then I was like, okay, let me just kind of go to church or something just to kind of calm my nerves down. So I went to church, and I was talking to friends at church, and I drove home, and it's about a half an hour ride from my church to my house. And I just remember driving home, and it was like the longest, scariest ride home. My spirit felt very afraid, almost like there was some pre-warning of something that was coming. And I just had all these thoughts and just emotions, inner turmoil, because I was so exhausted from just kind of running from this guy who at one time was so normal and had turned into a stalker. So I remember I got home at about 10 o'clock that night, and I just remember kind of sitting in my car, because when I pulled up into my house, a voice just kind of told me, he's here. And I was like, oh, no, he's not here. Because I didn't want to face whatever was coming. And so I just kind of dismissed it. I was like, oh, he can't be here. And so I just pulled in front of my house, and I just sat in the car for a minute, and I just kind of collected myself. Not really knowing exactly what was happening, but I knew something had to be wrong because I felt really, really bad. I hadn't been sleeping, just felt really nervous. So I got in my car, and I heard him say my name. And when he called my name, I had a Bible in his hand, I had some notes in his hand, and I was they're shaking. And he walked towards me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to pass out. And all I could do was just stand there, and I'm just shaking. I'm like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. I have a restraining order against you. And I'm so nervous that I'm speaking my thoughts. I was I'm terrified, I'm afraid, I was just babbling, and I couldn't move. And I was just oh my God. So finally, somehow, I felt like I had my feet were in cement. So I was able to move my feet, and I started walking up the stairs to my house. And he, at this point, had grabbed my arm, had dropped the stuff that was in my hand. He had grabbed my arm. He was like, come on, let's go in the house. And I was like, no. And I was like, I'm not going to do that, because I knew that he knew my home very well. He'd been there, obviously, many times, and he knew I lived alone. So I was like, I can't let this guy in my house. And at that point, it clicked in my mind, something was he's got a gun, he's gonna kill you. And so I remember I had the key in my right hand, I had the key in the door, and I was like, if I let him in my house, he's gonna kill me, and nobody will ever find me. So I remember that was the best decision I probably ever made in my entire life, because I pulled the key out the door, and I was just whatever you need to say, you got to say it out here. And he was kind of freaked out. I could tell he had some kind of plan, and just the idea of me taking the key out the door just changed everything up for him. So once that happened, we kind of started arguing back and forth. And I was like, you're not supposed to be here. I just want you out of my life. And he was like, you're trying to ruin my life. And I'm like, you're ruining my life. You're the one here causing harm to me. And so I walked down the stairs, and my back was facing him. And I don't even remember what the last thing he said to me, but he pulled out a gun. And I just remember it was like, he was placed in where the camera guy is. And I was like, oh, my God. It's like my worst fear. Like all these months of just fear that just had been laying in my belly, it just kind of came, I was looking at my fear, basically. And he pulled out a gun, and he shot me. And I just remember, like, I had my back to him, but my face was kind of turned towards him, so I was looking over my shoulder. And when he shot me, I fell to the ground, obviously. And I just remember just being overwhelmed with I don't know, just a very traumatic thing to happen to your body. And so he shot me, and then he shot me again. He kind of got closer and shot me again. And I was like, oh my God, I just know, things I remember when I was falling down that God clearly said to me, it's not your time. And so when I heard those words, I knew, I was like, I'm going to be here. Like, no matter what, I'm going to be here. And I remember that's when my survival instinct really kicked in, because I was like, I've been shot twice, I'm laying on the ground, and I'm like trying to push myself off the ground, because I remember thinking, if I can get up, I'm going to kick his ass. I was like, I can move my body, I'm going to kick his ass, and I was just thinking, I got to do it. And I couldn't move, and by this time my neighbors were out there, and like everybody was like, praying over me, and just like telling me, it's going to be okay. And by the grace of God, my neighbor across the street is a nurse. So she came out, and she had blankets, and she wrapped me up a little bit. It was really cold. It's like Washington, D.C. in January. It's like 30 degrees, 20 degrees. So I was like literally laying on the steamer in front of my home. So that experience taught me so much about life, many, many things. But take from the story whatever you need to take from it personally. But for me, it just let me know that we all definitely have a purpose here, and I clearly have a purpose to share with the world about that experience. And then also just the drive that we all need. Whatever your dreams are in life, just go for it. Because my life, it was just this close to me not being here anymore, and it just gives you a greater appreciation of life. Life is so much sweeter for me now. I took an experience that's just been horrible. I actually lost my eye from that experience. I mean, because he shot me in the face and head area. So by the grace of God, I don't have any brain damage, thank God. But I did lose my eye, which, the good thing about that, though, is that I had two eyes. So now I have one really good one, because when you lose one body part, the other, everything else is strengthened. So I'm very thankful for that. And I do see myself as a survivor. I do see all of you in here as survivors. We all have that in us. So I want to just bring that story to you all. Just hopefully you can get something from it. And if you have any body or anything in life that you need to forgive, just let it go. Because when you get that close to being out of here, you can't take anything with you. Literally, all you have is your soul, and that's it. And you just want to let stuff like that go. So thank you for listening. Hopefully you all have taken something from this. So thank you.
Supposed to play the song Survivor. I'm a survivor. So where's Soyini? What happened to him? Let's just what we want to do, because we were, you get 10 minutes, tell a story. I did ask her, I said afterwards, I know people are going to want to know more about your story, because it is a very heartfelt, personal story. And so we will have kind of a little Q&A for all the storytellers if you want afterwards, but particularly for your story. But what happened to him?
That's the thing. I'm writing a book about this, by the way, but he actually, after he shot me, he actually committed suicide. So he left my house, which was like less than a minute away from the highway. He didn't even get to the next exit, and he pulled over and committed suicide. So. Yeah.
A fitting end.
I know, that's a tough one. That's tough. All right, so we will, big round of applause for Soyini. She does a lot of work with domestic violence and all of that. So anyways, if you have any questions afterwards, we'll take them.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
to shake that, wouldn't you hate to follow her?